unless that wood turns or the second piece comes up, it's going to be a difficult shot. And it's going to be difficult. He's going to have to come up high, I believe, in that wood. And he's going to take a real good look at it. And he's thinking maybe the back piece might help me, but I still think he's going to have to come up with the right-hand tip.
Again, for those of you who are interested in the exact rules. Oh, ball comes back, and again, Joe has been robbed several times, and he got a nice break there.
It came up high, not quite as high as I think he wanted to, but he got the ball to come back.
I was about to say is, we've mentioned this rule before, but it's worth repeating. For those of you who bowl in leagues and so on, I know there are a lot of you out there who do. As Gary Carrington drops 9 in the third, it is a foul if you step across the foul line to look at a shot.
Ooh, goes by. Misses the 8-pin for the spare.
And I would assume, I don't know if we've ever taken it this far, but I assume it's a 1-ball penalty, as if you had fouled throwing a ball. Is that right?
Yeah. Right.
$10. Gary's lead, now 17. Opposite a mark by Joe Ashline here in the fourth. Gary Carrington trying to become the second bowler to be qualified for both the singles and doubles tournaments of champions. And again, Gary just missing. Well, both of these guys can really make shots.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's just like a clinic. I mean, they can play the wood. They know exactly how they're going to react, and it's just a matter of them if they get the break or not. And we're going to go to a break. Here you see the score. Gary is still leading by 17.
Here are the winning numbers from last night's Tri-State Megabucks drawing.
Joe Ashline.
He will cut into that 17-pin lead with this ball.
Working on a spare in the fourth. This is game 2. And it's a big first ball. It'll be 9. Winner of this match to move on facing Neil Goslin, our number 2 seed next week from Lynn, Mass. As Joe spares it up in the 5th. Don't forget, right after we're through here on Stars and Strikes today, stay tuned at 1 o'clock here on the Winds for Stars and Strikes doubles, week 2 of our last regular 4-week series. The Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, both of them, the singles and doubles Tournament of Champions, will begin on April the 19th here on the Winds. That's 4 weeks from today, April the 19th. I'm sorry, 3 weeks from today. Tournament of Champions shows. Oh, there's a great shot.
That's 3 in a row again for Joe Ashline. 4 marks, 4 spares this game. See the triangle plus the 7-pin. Uses the wood to help him clear the 7.
The Tournament of Champions at 12 noon will, of course, be in singles competition. And then at 1 o'clock, it'll be the doubles Tournament of Champions. They will each run for 5 weeks, beginning on April the 19th, 3 weeks from today.
Gary, a little high in the wood. Thought might have been enough to carry the 4 pins, a 3, 6, 10 plus the 8, but instead of 10.
Well, Gary's lead is down to 2, and he's opposite a mark here in the 6th. Pretty good Brooklyn side hit, but not much happening with it.
3, 6, 10 on the right with the 7-pin on the left.
Not quite.
So unless Joe Ashline does something that he doesn't usually do, he will take the lead.
And it will be for the first time in the match.
The lead is now 1, so anything over 1 on the spare, Joe Ashline will take the lead. And he does that with 8.
And leaves a chance for his 4th consecutive mark. The 610. He'll just have to power through the wood, but for a guy who throws as hard as he does, that's not a problem.
I mentioned the New Hampshire State tournaments are just about ready to kick off with the youth events at Boutwell's Bowling Center the next 2 weekends. So there's still time. If you haven't got your entry in, contact your nearest NHCBA house if you're a league bowler and send them in immediately because they start next weekend.
Boutwell's Bowling Center, of course, in Concord, New Hampshire.
Exactly right, yes. Very nice place to visit, even if you're not bowling in the tournament.
When you get the bill for this, you're going to be shocked.
I just give it to my partner. I don't understand this bill here. You pay it.
Well, Joe can't continue the string of marks. It ends at 4 consecutive, but he has taken the lead, at least for now, by 7. It would only be fitting that these two guys should roll a close match. I mean, seems only appropriate. Said they bowled with and against each other many, many times. There's a spare for Gary Carrington, trying to reestablish a lead here as game 2 winds to a close. The runner-up in this match receives $175, 4th place money. The winner, of course, moves on to face Neil Gosselin in the semifinals next week.
Gary threw his arms up. He knew he was in no man's land, in between the 1-3 and the 1-2 pocket, right through the middle. Only 5 on the spare. Oh, that close.
Oh.
I mean, nothing is safe down there with these two guys. They just feel they can make every shot, too.
It's interesting, too, because they have very, very different styles. Joe Ashline uses almost all of the approach, generates a lot of power, as we've said, whereas Gary takes a very, very short approach. He stands about as close to the foul line as anybody that we see here on the program. Joe Ashline stands as far back as he can get. He has his heels over the back of the approach when he starts.
Wants that 7-pin to fall forward into the 4. No, Joe, Joe's been bowling long enough. He knows that doesn't help. That's stomping the foot. And it's a 9 and a 124. And you see, 8-pin advantage now for Joe Ashline. 22-pin advantage in this game. That's through 8 boxes.
Spare leave for Joe, the 2-5. No.
So an opening for Gary Carrington. Final 2 frames, he'll be facing 2 open frames by Joe Ashline.
133, 255 for 2 strings for Joe Ashline.
Gary was to put 1 mark up in these 2 frames, we'd be just about dead even. One, 7, 9, 10.
Won't be easy, but then again, everything's a possibility with these 2 guys. Not this time for Gary. But if Gary were to throw up a mark here in the 10th with something on it, this thing could be very, very close. That was a nice 10 conversion there. That may be important later on. Oh, big strike.
And that's what we're going to have. Anything over 7. 7 or more in the spare. Or 7 would be a tie game. Tie match, I should say. Anything over 7, he'll take the lead. Actually, gains 1 in count. 7 would take the lead.
Pretty good pocket hit. There's a double strike. Wow. It looked like a pretty good hit on the way in, Dan, and then it looked like it might have been the 8-10.
It seemed like everything stopped for a second. Right here. And all of a sudden, the wood keeps moving, and there goes the 10-pin for the double strike. So he definitely will take the lead. He could put it in the double figures now.
And there it is. 3 strikes in a row for Gary Carrington in the 10th. And he will preserve his lead. In fact, it's identical. It's still a 14-pin advantage for Gary Carrington with 1 game to go. And we'll have it on Stars and Strikes after this break.
Well,
Gary Carrington.
See if he can keep that streak going. Finished with 3 strikes in the 10th. And boy, you like to throw the strikes, but if you're any kind of an avid bowler, you realize that a triple strike in the 10th doesn't give you the full advantage of those 3 strikes. Well, there's 3, but it's only 3 pins. The 1, 8, 9.
Well, Gary threw all 3 of those strikes on lane 31, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when he moves over there and after this box.
Well, we have a minute here. Well, I'd like to say hello to a couple from Revere that I met on vacation that watch the show each and every week on the Winds. And that's Jim and Elaine Byrne from Revere, Mass. So Jim and Elaine, I told you I would. That's a 10 for Gary.
And a spare leave for, well, it is a spare leave, but it's the 2-10, not just the 10.
Gary might dispute that.
Well, I was going to say it's a spare leave the way these 2 guys are bowling.
Right.
But the wood was not favorable, certainly. Pair of 10s. Okay, you say it.
Well, it was a pair. We had to say it together.
Joe Ashline. Right on the head pin. Boy, both guys have bowled fairly well, making some shots and doing some scoring, but there have also been a number of punch-outs.
Joe worked hard at getting that lead and saw it all washed away with that 3 triple strike at the end.
Well, actually, you look at the scores, Dan, and remember that both of these guys average 128, and they're really right around their averages. Gary just slightly higher, of course, but it seems like they should be scoring better than that. It seems like they're both bowling better than that.
Yeah, 2-4 left for Joe.
And he's got it. That's important because he knew he had an open box to work against. And he records his 10th mark of the match. Gary Carrington also has 10, but 5 of his marks are strikes. And, of course, 3 of them came in a row. Brooklyn hit the 5, 6, and 10.
Oh,
and a
nice.
spare. Perfect.
Perfect is right. Had to get down low enough so the ball would carry the 5-pin, and the wood takes the 6 and the 10. Great shot for Gary.
And almost a strike. Looked like it should have gone.
Just the 6-pin, and I would say that he'd probably cover this. 2 in a row.
I had already written it down on my score sheet, so if he had missed it, it would have been completely my fault.
Well, we talked about this before the show. We have got to be quiet about things. Both worried about showing up for today's taping. We had nothing but problems when we did. 3-9 and the 7 pin. It'd be interesting if he takes a piece of that wood that's half in the channel and half out. As he hits the piece on the plane. That's what he's doing. Oh, great shot. Great try, but this 9 pin stands.
Joe's cut the lead in half, but now he's going to drop back again because Gary put up those 2 spares.
Just going back to that triple strike. Let's take a look at that replay first. The wood just twisted by the 9 pin. With a triple strike in the 10th for Gary, he got a total of 30 pins. If it was in the 8th, 9th, and 10th, he would have 60 pins already without any more of the bonus balls. 30 in the 8th, 20 in the 9th with a double strike working, and the strike in the 10th. So he would double his score immediately, plus he'd have 3 more bonus balls. So those are a lot of pins when the triple strike is up in the game. Good mark for Joe.
That's an important mark right there. We will pause as we still have a tight match here. Gary Carrington in the lead by 16, at least for the moment, but still plenty of time. We'll see if Joe Ashline can come back and take it after these words. Well, both bowlers working on marks here as we pick things up in the 4th frame of the last game here on Stars and Strikes.
Gary working on a pair of spares. Neither bowler has left the pin standing through 4 frames of this final game.
Again, if you tuned in late and you were wondering what happened last week, Frank Rose had qualified in the number 5 spot in this series. Frank Rose from Atkinson, New Hampshire, who would have been making his first appearance with us, but unfortunately he suffered a back injury immediately prior to the taping of the show. And so due to the unusual circumstances, we did not have what we normally would have had last week, so we moved on, and we are now in what in essence is the 2nd week of this series with the number 3 seed Joe Ashline against the number 4 seed Gary Carrington. And Gary just missed out on an opportunity for his 3rd mark in a row there.
It was just, he played it exactly the way he wanted to and got the pin to come off the right side wall, but just flipped it in front of the 2 pin. Or I should say the 4 pin. Now in the 6th. Realizing he doesn't want to leave an open frame for Joe to work on.
That big pin right there was the 8, the pin in the back dropping. And there's 4 in a row. Oh, take it back. That was a 10 box previously.
Now Joe works on a spare in the 4th. And he is opposite the open. Oh, that's right in there.
Oh wow.
Boy. Oof. That's right in there, and he got a good 7-pin drop. Unfortunately, the 5, 8, and 7 are left up, and you'd like the wood back just a little bit more. He's going to have to take a piece of the wood and the 5-pin, and then he's going to need something to come off the right side wall and back across. Now, there is another piece of wood in the channel, so this piece of wood on the plate should come out. Now, whether he can get it to come back across the lane, let's see. No, a little too high.
Well, he's not able to take advantage of the open frame. And he drops 2 pins in count, so the lead is 19.
And he's opposite another spare, so he's got to, at least to keep pace, put a mark up. And if he does, it's going to be a good one.
Again, the punch-outs continue.
It seems like the balls, they go in streaks, and then they go a little full, and the streak stops, and they have a few problems. And now Joe's going to start running out of boxes.
Oh, there it was. Maybe it would have been a spare had he played it on that side. We'll never know. But it's a 10 box now. He'll take the pins, but he'll need the marks later on.
19 pins plus the spare, the fill on the spare that Gary will fill right now. And he goes through the middle
for a 5 fill. So the lead is at 24. Well, I'll tell you, he scares it, doesn't he?
He does. Got everything moving. And it's a 91 through 7, and a 24-pin advantage through 6 boxes.
Don't forget, coming up at the end of the show, we'll have our bonus ball contest for $90, and also a couple of brand new sets of bowling balls from Paramount Industries on the line.
Whoa, got a good break. He was full. He threw his arms up. He knew he was full in the head pin and left the 4, 7, 10, but the piece of wood kicked the 10 pin out.
I don't know if this wood is going to help him much, though. No, it did. No, that could be a critical mark right there for Gary in the 8th.
Had to play the wood high, and he did just that. Came off the wall. 4 and 7 go out of there. And lane 31 has been real good to him. The last 3 times up there, he's had spares. Critical spares.
Plus, he had the triple strike over there earlier.
This is almost a must for Joe Ashline. 4 horsemen left plus the 10 pin.
Lead 23, as you see. Joe really in a situation where he just has to try and mark here and keep pace and then hope that Gary does not put too much up in the last 2. Gary in a very advantageous position here, though, because he's in the lead. He's got it over 20, and he's working on a mark, and he's bowling first in the last 2. And Joe gets the spare in the 8th.
Lead will stay at 23, at least temporarily.
12 marks for Joe Ashline. He's had 1 strike. That was way back in the first string. Hasn't had one since.
Joe needs a break from Gary on the spare right now. And he's not going to get it. 8.
Maybe 9.
Almost 10. That's going to make it real difficult. That pushes the lead to 32.
And another mark. Gary's 15th of the day.
He is closing in on the 400 mark. And if he does, it's going to be a real consistent 400. 136 opening game, 133. He has 120 now through 9 with the bonus ball coming.
Right on the head pin again, and that close to a strike.
He's just not giving Joe Ashline any room at all.
And he is now over 400. It's at 407. Make it 408, plus another ball to come.
Gives him 139 in the 10th.
And look at that, he's still getting a break here in the 10th. He gets 7 more, and a 146. Joe Ashline gives him congratulations. It is still mathematically possible for Joe to catch him, but he's going to have to throw a strike right now and then a whole bunch of them after that. But it is still mathematically possible, as Joe is now checking on the scoreboard. But when you consider the fact that Joe's been able to throw only 1 strike so far. Well, there's the second one.
You know, I was looking at the other way. You know, he can throw strikes, and he's only thrown 1, so maybe he's due to throw some.
Well, that's 1. He's still a long way away. If he throws another one, then we'll talk about the possibilities.
Trips out the 4-pin. That looks pretty good. Oh, a little full.
That'll do it.
That'll do it is right. So Gary Carrington will move one step closer to that final qualification for the Tournament of Champions. He'll bowl Neil Goslin from Lynn next week.
And Joe Ashline will finish up with a very respectable 385, but on this day, it was not good enough to beat his good friend Gary Carrington, who takes it home with a 415. We'll be back to chat with both bowlers and have our bonus ball contest 2 in a minute. All right, we're back here on Stars and Strikes, and up here at the top level, we have Joe Ashline and Cody Ashline, and down there we have Derek, yep. And the whole family is here to accept, unfortunately, I'm sure, the fourth place check, $175. We were talking about during the show, Joe, it seemed like both of you should have been even scoring better. It was kind of a strange day. You both kind of fought through some tough breaks.
Yeah, it seemed like we threw, you know, a pretty good ball. He was on the hip pin all day, and I hit the head pin pretty good, but it was that extra pin we were leaving on the side, and we seemed to throw wood over at it, but it just didn't hit it, so.
Well, I know you probably didn't bowl as well as you would have liked. Maybe Derek will be able to do better at the end of the show after Gary does the bonus ball.
Yeah, Derek does all right on the show. I don't do as good as Derek does.
Joe, congratulations. We hope to see you again soon.
Hey, bye-bye, Derek.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Derek. Bye, Julie.
That's Joe Ashline. And now let's get Gary Carrington up for the bonus ball. We're going to have, well, Derek wants to do it, but we're going to have Gary do it. And we have $90 in the jackpot. Again, we've added $20 from 2 weeks ago, which was our last drawing. And we have 8, and not a match for Walter Cuttress, I believe it is. Walter Cuttress from Salem, New Hampshire. Thanks for the postcard, Walter. We'll be sending you a consolation gift in the mail very soon. And for this man, well, I know you like bowling against Joe. You guys have some fun. It's very competitive, obviously, but you have the strike ball working in the right spots.
Well, he was going tough on 31, and then you know, splitting. I split like 3 or 4 times in a row, and then I throw a triple over there. I don't know how. You know, sometimes it works like that. That's the key of the match right there, the triple strike. It got me back in the ball game, and that's what did it for me.
Well, we've got Neil Goslin coming in. He'll be making his first appearance here with us next week, and that'll be the semifinals. Of course, you're already safe in the doubles tournament, but trying to make it both.
Yeah, I hope so. Neil's I know him. I bowled against him a long time now. You know, he's from Lynn, I think, and he's a pretty good bowler. He's a good bowler, so I got to be on my toes.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, I'll be here.
All right, congratulations, Gary, with a 415. Nice bowling. And, Dan, a quick look at the ladder and a quick word about next week as we'll look forward to that semifinal match. We're down to 3 bowlers now. One of them is going to advance.
And one of them is coming in, Mr. Goslin, first time with us, and he's bowling against an experienced guy like Gary. It's going to be tough for him. Let's see how it happens.
We're out of time. We'll be back with semifinal action next week. And, of course, stay tuned in just a few minutes for Stars and Strikes Doubles, Week 2 of our 4-week series. In the meantime, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, so long from Park Place Lanes.
Hi, this is Kimberly Carson. 2 beloved stars highlight today's Movie Watch Sunday double feature. First up at 2, Loretta Young is the Swedish maid who wins a seat in Congress and the man of her dreams. She won the best